Hey everyone, this video I want to talk about a recent firing of someone in America called Juan Williams, and I also want to talk a little bit about the video that Tommy from the Bronx made addressing this same subject. First off, some background. There was a radio host, he was on NPR, the National Public Radio in America. Of course his name was Juan Williams. He made some comments on Bill O'Reilly's show, The O'Reilly Factor, which subsequently got him fired. And what he basically said was that if he sees someone dressed in Muslim garb and identifying themselves as Muslim in an airport, he gets nervous. This was a few days ago. I'll leave a link in the doobly-doo bar to an interview between some dumb newswoman interviewing somebody from the Council of American Islamic Relations. The clip in which he was fired for is in the link, so you can you go and see for yourself what he says. Now, I don't really want to talk about the decision to fire him. That's not really what I wanted to focus on. In my opinion, it was probably going a bit too far. I wouldn't consider him a bigot, but yes, it was a bigoted statement. But I want to touch on something that Tommy from the Bronx said, and that was he seemed to think that this wasn't an insulting thing about Muslims. He asked, did he say insulting things about Muslims, and he seemed to think that it wasn't. And I really do have to disagree with you there, Tommy. You're taking the actions of a few extremist Muslims and painting and applying them to the whole group. You're saying that this very small group of Muslims committed this horrendous terrorist attack, therefore every single Muslim must adhere to the same rules and principles as this small group. Now, I know you're an atheist, Tommy, so let's just say that a small atheist group was committed to committing acts of terrorism within the United States, and someone on the on TV said that if I see someone who's identifying themselves as an atheist, I get nervous because I think they're going to commit maybe an act of terrorism or something. I'm sure you'd be insulted by that, and I would too, and that is why it's insulting to every single Muslim. And as for Juan Williams' statements, I really would like to know what being dressed as a Muslim is. I wish someone would tell me. Is it the flowing white robes? Is it the beard? I've been mistaken as a Muslim before, and I just wondering what kind of stereotypical dress code or facial hair code is there that makes someone identify themselves as a Muslim. To me, there is no such standard. People have this stereotypical idea. They mold their bigotry around them, and almost like tell themselves to be afraid of this kind of person or anybody who looks like this person, because they may look like somebody who did a horrendous terrorist attack 9 years ago, and identifying themselves as Muslim. Again, this is something that I don't understand. Are Muslims just going around shouting Quranic verses? Are they holding signs everywhere just going "Muslims for the win"? Or "I'm with Allah" t-shirts or something like that? I don't understand at all. A Muslim could wear a suit. Does that mean that they are not dressed like a Muslim? They're a Muslim, they're dressed in a suit. Doesn't that mean that they are dressed like a Muslim? Would you be afraid of a Muslim if they were dressed a lot more formal, a lot more smarter? And I'm sorry, anybody who has this kind of thought process when it comes to Muslims, they will probably get pissed off if you call them an Islamophobic or something, but to me it is a phobia. A phobia is an irrational fear. That's why there's no such thing as a phobia of serial killers, because that's a very legitimate fear. Being scared of someone because they may look like a certain group is an irrational fear, because you have no rational basis in which to think that this person is going to commit acts of terrorism. And of course there's this the whole free speech thing comes out. He can't say what he wants. Well, Juan Williams can say whatever the fuck he wants, just like NPR can fire him for these inflammatory comments. There's no free speech suppression here. He can go and say what he wants, and I think he's probably going to be signed up with Fox News soon enough, so he'll be able to say all the bigoted shit he wants there, and he won't get fired. So there's definitely no free speech suppression here. He can say whatever the hell he wants still, and nobody's forcing him not to. People have to realise that in the real world, your words and your actions have consequences. These words that came out of his mouth could have very serious repercussions to NPR's public image. It could deal them a big blow. But they really do have to nip this thing in the bud. Now, I don't think that firing him was necessarily a good idea. I think a warning or some sort of dressing down probably would have been a better idea. But you know, it's their company. And just going back to Juan Williams for a second, I would love him to answer this question, right? So let's say I go on TV and I say that, okay, I don't know about everyone else, I'm not a bigot, and I love it when people say that. You know, he says, before he says these things, he says, I'm not a bigot. Now usually when somebody says that, you just know some bigoted stuff is just going to come out of their mouth. It's like, you know, just saying, I'm not racist, I just hate black people. And this is close to where I want to go with this. Let's just say I'm on TV and I say, well, hey, I'm not racist or anything, but if I'm walking down the street and there's nobody else around and I see a black person and he's got his hat back on backwards, he's got the slouched jeans right down to his, so you can see his fucking boxers. I don't know about anyone else, I get nervous. Now if I said that, I'm pretty sure Juan Williams and a lot of black people would get pissed off and they would be insulted, and they would say that I was a racist because of this. And because this person is acting and dressed like a certain way, that means certain actions are going to happen because of the way they're dressed. Now, would Juan Williams think that was unfair? Say if I got fired from my job because of that, would Juan Williams fight for me to say that? I'm just wondering. You know, this whole argument I can't stand, because it cuts too close to the original sin argument that someone has to pay for someone else's mistakes. Apparently we're all born with original sin because Adam and Eve ate from the tree of life and got kicked out of the garden. No, fuck that. I don't believe that for a second. We should all take responsibility for our own actions. I should not get blamed whenever a man or a white person or an atheist does something bad, because it's nothing to do with me. Just like we shouldn't look at Muslims and think that they are potentially a terrorist or some kind of extremist. It's completely unfair. And you know, I think the Fox News and a lot of the right-wing media really do have a part to play in this when they're ramping up the anti-Islamic rhetoric. When you have people that remember the fist bump that President Obama and his wife shared, it was called a terrorist fist jab. If you report on this kind of baseless bullshit, a lot of people are going to believe it, and it's not exactly going to make them tolerant towards Muslims, is it? It's just like people have the idea of reparations, that somehow the government owes the descendants of slave trade now money. Well, excuse me, but fuck you. I don't feel guilty at all for the slave trade that occurred here in Britain. Even if I was directly related to somebody who owned slaves, that has nothing to do with me as a person. That has nothing to do with who I am, and I'm not going to feel guilty or ashamed for something that happened even before my fucking grandma was born. But then, that's another story. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Pretty rambly video. And I can never think of a good way of ending videos. You notice that? I just end them very abruptly, which is what I'm going to do now. So, cheerio.